Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. We welcome to our online learning initiative, Ekalaiva. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the respiration. In the previous class, we studied about different modes of nutrition in different animals. Holozoic nutrition is one of the modes of nutrition in which we studied how the food is ingested, how the ingested food is digested by various enzymes in different organs. And how the digested food is absorbed in small intestine, by villi. How the absorbed food is assimilated in the body cells. In this lesson, we are going to see how the assimilated food is oxidized to release energy. This assimilated food is holding energy. That energy has to be released by oxidation of food. For oxidation, we need oxygen. So the most organisms need oxygen to obtain energy from food. How do these organisms obtain oxygen? They obtain oxygen from atmosphere. Now let's see how the organism obtains oxygen. Atmosphere as air, air as oxygen. So the oxygen enters through these nostrils and it goes through this windpipe and enters into this pair of lungs. And here exchange of gases takes place and it receives carbon dioxide and it comes out while exhalation. So one inhalation and exhalation makes one breathing. So the breathing is a physical process. So this is how during inhalation an organism obtains oxygen. The oxygen which has been obtained by the process of breathing is used to break down the food. The food is nothing but the glucose. Glucose is the end product of digestive system. C6H12O6 is the glucose, right? The glucose is oxidized in the presence of oxygen and releases carbon dioxide, water and energy. Now look at this picture. The food, the glucose gets assimilated inside the cell. The assimilated food reacts with oxygen and releases energy. And along with this energy, carbon dioxide and water are also produced. Carbon dioxide is the real waste, so it has to be eliminated by exhalation. Whereas the water is very beneficial to the organism as it is the solvent and also it helps to maintain the body temperature. So the whole process takes place inside the cell. See, we call it as cellular respiration. Now, can you define the respiration? The process in which The food is oxidized to release energy is called respiration. The energy released during respiration is not used up by the organism immediately. It is stored in the form of ATP molecules in the cells of the body. How this ATP is formed? Before that, let's know what is ADP. ADP is adenosine diphosphate. Adenosine diphosphate is present in the cell. Same way, phosphate, that is inorganic phosphate, which is made up of phosphorus and oxygen, are also present in the cell. And here ATP is nothing but adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate is high energy content. Whereas adenosine diphosphate is low energy content. Because it contains ATP contains the three phosphate groups, and whereas adenosine diphosphate contains two phosphate groups. Okay, now let's see how this ATP is formed. ADP combines with inorganic phosphate by absorbing energy released during respiration and forms ATP. This ATP is stored in all the cells of the body. As and when the organism needs energy, ATP is broken down by using water and releases energy. Okay? Now we learned the two aspects of respiration. One is internal respiration, the other one is external respiration. In the internal respiration we studied the oxidation of food. Food is nothing but glucose. In the external respiration we studied about the breathing. Right? Now let's see the difference between respiration and breathing. In respiration, biochemical process takes place, that is some chemical reaction takes place. What is that chemical reaction? Breaking down of glucose with the help of oxygen takes place. As a result we get energy. So here the chemical process takes place inside the cell, that is why it is biochemical process. Whereas in breathing only physical process takes place. In physical process we take oxygen and relieve of carbon dioxide. So only exchanging of gases takes place in breathing. And here in respiration, both extracellular respiration and intracellular respiration takes place. Now, just now we saw the two aspects of respiration, that is extracellular and intracellular. In the extracellular, that is the breathing. Extracellular means the breathing process only we are taking. Without breathing process, we cannot obtain oxygen. Without oxygen, we cannot break down the glucose. That is that takes place inside the cell, that cellular respiration. So it involves both extracellular and intracellular respiration. And here in breathing only extracellular takes place, extracellular process takes place, that is taking in of oxygen and leaving out of carbon dioxide, and this process does not take place inside the cell, it is taking place outside the cell in some with the help of some organs. And here enzymes actions are involved, and here we saw that coenzyme A, that enzyme is involved in breaking down of glucose, it helps. So enzymes actions are involved here, and here no enzymes are involved. And here energy is released, and here no energy is released, only diffusion takes place. So what is the diffusion? So that exchanging of gases that takes place inside the alveoli. And here all body cells are involved. All the bodies, each and every cell of a body is assimilated with food. That food is broken down to release energy. So all the cells are involving in releasing the energy. And here only certain organs are involved. That trachea, nostrils, trachea, and uh, alveoli and bronchioles, such organs are involved. Now let's see the types of respiration. There are two types of respiration. The one is aerobic respiration, the other one is anaerobic respiration. Aerobic means air. So air as oxygen. So the process of respiration that takes place in the presence of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. In some cases, the oxidation of food takes place even without oxygen. That is anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration means without air. So, the process of respiration that takes place in the absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. First, let's see the aerobic respiration in detail. So during this process, oxidation of food releases energy in the presence of oxygen. Now let's see the stepwise process. The first step is conversion of glucose into pyruvate. Now in this process, we are talking about how the glucose is converted or oxidized. Okay, and here as a first step, the glucose is converted into pyruvate. This process takes place in cytoplasm. You can see here, this is the cell. Whatever cell, animal cell or plant cell, this is cytoplasm. You can see the fluid matrix in which all other cell components are there, all cell organelles. This is cytoplasm. So the conversion of glucose into pyruvate takes place in the fluid matrix cytoplasm, for which there is no need of oxygen. It happens, this conversion of glucose into pyruvate takes place in the cytoplasm in the absence of oxygen. In the absence of oxygen. And here the one molecule of glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate. And one molecule of glucose. What is glucose? What is the formula of glucose? C6H12O6 is the formula of glucose. One molecule of glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate. The formula of pyruvate is CH3 CO COOH. This is a formula of pyruvate. And in this, glucose is the 6 carbon atom molecule. And here the 6 carbon atom molecule is converted into 3 carbon atom molecule, that is pyruvate. So 1 molecule of glucose is converted into pyruvate. So this process is termed as glycolysis. The conversion of glucose into pyruvate is called glycolysis, that takes place in the cytoplasm. So when the food gets assimilated inside the cell, here itself in the matrix itself, this conversion of glucose into pyruvate, that is glycolysis, takes place, for which there is no need of oxygen. And in this process, 2 ATP molecules are produced. Now let's see the equation that takes place in glycolysis. What's happening there? Glucose is converted into pyruvate. So the formula of glucose is C6H12O6. It gives pyruvate or pyruvic acid, COOH. So this occurs in cytoplasm. This process is called glycolysis. Right? Now, in this process, 1 molecule of glucose is converted into 2 molecules of pyruvate. It means 6 carbon atom molecule, that is glucose, is converted into 3 carbon atom molecule of pyruvate. Right? Now let's see what happens to this pyruvate. So now let's see the second step that occurs in aerobic respiration. Here the conversion of pyruvate into energy we are going to see. So the end product of glycolysis, that is pyruvate, moves into mitochondria, and there the releasing of energy takes place. So this is mitochondria. You would have seen, you would have learnt about this mitochondria. It is one of the cell components, and it is also called the powerhouse of the cell. Right? Now, in between the first step, that is glycolysis, and this one, conversion of pyruvate into energy, there are other 2 steps are involving, that is Krebs cycle and electron transport system, such things. You need not worry about those processes, but at this level, you know the first step is glycolysis, and the second step is the conversion of pyruvate into energy. That's enough. So here the second step, the energy is released in mitochondria, for which the presence of oxygen is very, very important. And in this process, 38 ATP molecules are produced along with carbon dioxide and water. Now let's see the full equation of aerobic respiration. So here this is the equation that takes place only in the first step. Now let's see the full equation that takes place in the aerobic respiration. Here C6H12O6, that is cytoplasm, it takes place. Through the process of glycolysis, it gives pyruvate, what happens to this pyruvate? Can you guess? Yeah, it happens in mitochondria. It happens in mitochondria. And what it gives? It gives carbon dioxide, water plus energy. How much energy it releases? 38 ATP molecules are produced. Is it clear? So now what happens? There are two steps are involving in aerobic respiration. One is glycolysis, that is conversion of glucose into pyruvate, and then conversion of pyruvate into energy. Is it clear? Now here 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water are also produced here. Now let's see anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic means without air. Or oxygen. So the respiration that takes place in the absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. In this process, breaking down of glucose takes place in the absence of oxygen. Right? Let's see the stepwise process. The first step is conversion of glucose into pyruvate. You have already learnt it in the aerobic respiration. Because this conversion of glucose into pyruvate is a common process that takes place in both aerobic and anaerobic respiration. So this in the first step, one molecule of glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate. Now let's see once again. C6H12O6 is the glucose. It is converted into pyruvate. This is a formula of pyruvate. We already learnt it. And here one molecule, one 6 carbon atom molecule of glucose is converted into two molecules of pyruvate or pyruvic acid. So this step takes place in cytoplasm. So this conversion of glucose into pyruvate takes place in the absence of oxygen, and this process is called glycolysis. Right? So in this process, two ATP molecules are produced. In the first step itself, two ATP molecules are produced. And this anaerobic respiration can be found in yeast. Example, yeast. Yeast is a single-celled plant, non-green plant. And what is the multicellular fungus? Actually, this yeast belongs to fungus family, right? So what is a multicellular fungus? Yeah, it is mushroom. So here, actually in the aerobic respiration, the end product of glycolysis, that is pyruvate, moves into mitochondria. There in the presence of oxygen, this pyruvate releases energy. And here, this whole respiration takes place in cytoplasm itself. Now let's see the second step that takes place in anaerobic respiration. The end product of glycolysis is pyruvate, and in this step pyruvate is converted into ethanol. What is the formula of pyruvate? CH3COOH, and it gives ethanol along with carbon dioxide plus 2 ATP molecules of energy are produced. It happens in the absence of oxygen. Okay, there is lot of scope of releasing energy from the pyruvate, but still as there is no oxygen, lack of oxygen, it produces only 2 carbon atom molecule of this ethanol. Okay, also it produces very less energy, that is 2 ATP molecules are produced. Whereas in aerobic respiration, 38 ATP molecules are produced. So this process can be termed as fermentation. This fermentation process is used in some industries where the alcohol is produced. Now let's see the anaerobic respiration in animals. So this anaerobic respiration takes place in some bacteria, some worms, even in human muscle cells. So when a person undergo very vigorous physical activities like running for a long distance, running for a long time, at that time the muscle cells start respiring anaerobically. So at that time the pyruvate will be converted into lactic acid. Let's see the formula. This is the formula of pyruvate. Pyruvate is converted into lactic acid. Along with 2 ATP molecules of energy. This conversion also takes place in the absence of oxygen. Also it takes place in cytoplasm. And as a result of this conversion of pyruvate into lactic acid, so the more lactic acid produced, right, and this gets accumulated in muscle cells. That will lead into muscle cramp. What do you mean by muscle cramp? The painful contraction of muscles. Contraction of muscles is called muscle cramp. So as when the muscle cramp occurs in muscles, what will happen? It will be very painful, right? How can we get rid of this muscle cramp? So one has to go for hot water bath or massage. So this hot water bath or the massage will improve the blood flow. So as a result of it, it will bring more oxygen. This oxygen will break down the lactic acid and it gives carbon dioxide and water. And this way, uh, uh, this muscle cramp, the cramp can be got rid of. So this is a result of the the lactic accumulation of pyruvic acid. Also we saw how we can get rid of this muscle cramp. Now let's see the full equation of this anaerobic respiration in muscle cells. O6 COOH. So this is the conversion of glucose into pyruvate. So this is called glycolysis, right? This takes place in cytoplasm. This is the pyruvate. What happened? This is the first step. Now the second step, what happened? What happened to this pyruvate? It happens in the absence of oxygen. And it happens in muscle cells. As a result of it, what happened? Lactic acid is produced. And along with that, 2 ATP molecules are also produced here. So this is the second step. Okay. So lactic acid is the end product of the second step. Along with that, 2 ATP molecules are produced. And even in the plant cells, in the plant we saw the anaerobic respiration in yeast, and here also 2 ATP molecules are produced. And even in the muscle cells, that is in the animals also, when anaerobic respiration takes place, 2 ATP molecules are only produced here. So from here what we can understand, so the animal which undergo aerobic respiration cannot live without oxygen. So the animal which undergo anaerobic respiration can live even without oxygen. Is it clear?